Sorted. So with our webinar, it's about just trying to get everybody into the same place, just to show that we are here to help you and just to guide you along the way so that we can get you in the best place that we can to recover from everything that is going around at the moment. So just for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Richardson and I'm the director here at 123 Financial Group. We are financial planners, accountants and business advisors and mortgage brokers. So if you haven't used our services in the past, feel free to jump on and have a chat. We're using Zoom. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Zoom and haven't used it before, if you just select your audio just to check that your speakers are working, and if they're not, just let me know and we can have a look and see if we can fix it. If you need to raise your hand or you have any questions, you just push the little raise hand button or the Q&A. So let's jump on into it. So my thought of the day: smooth seas don't make skillful sailors. And this is an African proverb. And I think it's fairly indicative of the times that we're in at the moment. So at the moment, you know, it's always been nice and easy in the last few years, and it's been a reasonably calm environment, which hasn't really, tested our skills as a business owner. You know, certainly the economy's been ticking away and all of those sorts of things. So it does make it easy. But the turbulent times that we've had in the last little bit certainly has tested all of us as business owners and our resilience to change, our resilience to just surviving, really. So I love this little saying here because it really does say what it says, in that it's smooth sailing. Everybody can navigate. Any business owner can run a business if it's running along nicely and smoothly. But of course, you know, this year we've had thrown at us the droughts, and then we had the fires and the floods, and now we've got COVID. And just when we think that we're about to come through all of this, COVID seems to be bouncing back into us. And potentially we might have to rejig our businesses and work everything again. So obviously not all of us as business owners have been directly affected through COVID, but indirectly most of us have been affected. And it can be things like we can't get supplies, we just don't have the traffic coming through, and all those sorts of things. So it is, as business owners, something that we need to take into account, and how we handle these situations that we're finding ourselves in and how we reposition our business will be a very telling on us as business owners, but it'll also test your skills as to whether you can readjust, rejig, redo lots of things, or realign your business so that you are ready to move forward when things do. And this will pass. We will eventually, as a society, get through COVID and all these other things, and business will come out the other side. But you need to make sure as business owners that we are ready to tackle that when we come out the other end. So this photo reminds me of a skipper of a boat, obviously, and they can navigate in these nice calm waters. But the test of the real skipper of a boat and us as business owners is that when times get tough or seas get rough, whether we still can navigate and still survive and still take charge and give direction to our staff and all those things that we should do as business owners. And I guess that's why so many skippers win the Sydney to Hobart quite often, because they have those skills that the others don't have. And of course, as a business leader, we need to be able to look at our business, dissect it, pull it apart, work out what works, what we can rejig so that we can become successful, and then we can guide our business into the next progress. So just quickly running through the agenda today. So we've got the first bit we'll discuss is closing the disconnect. the need to reinvent, and of course that's always important, but more so important in the current times that we have now. We're going to look at budgeting and why that's important, and that's both your personal and your business budget. We're going to look at the opportunities, the vulnerabilities, and the critical challenges that us as business owners are going to face in the next few months. We're going to identify and manage the risks that you as business owners and your business have, set some goals and some actions, and we're going to pull everything together as a complete package. Then we'll just have a quick chat about what your next steps are, how we can offer some support to you, and if we have time, we'll do some questions at the end. But if we don't, I'll get you all just to submit your questions and we can do an email out so that everybody gets those answers in a timely manner and we can help you with it. So just before we get stuck into the webinar, I do need to throw the usual disclaimer that we are also famous for in our industry, that we're not insolvency specialists here. There are strict rules and regulations around solvency, some of which may have been amended to account for the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, if your business is unable to continue to trade as a result of solvency or bank financial issues, we will, of course, refer you to a qualified specialist. Okay, so closing the disconnect. Before I get started, I just want to share some of my thoughts on how we can stay better connected at this time. I'm not talking about how we can better connect with technology or things like webinars and our online meetings and things that we're doing at the moment. Although, of course, these are important because this is how we bounce ideas off each other, how we look for innovations, or sometimes you just can't see the tree for the forest. And it just takes somebody on the outside just to, I guess, look through a different set of eyes. And that's really important at the moment with businesses struggling. So not so long ago, a couple of months, I think it was in May, I was sent a video to watch from somebody that I've had a business acquaintance with. And it was a video from a guy called Ben Crow. And he's a director from Mojo Crow, it's called, his business. And he's a professional mentor and a performance enhancing coach. He works mostly with elite athletes and CEOs and business directors and the like. And he has some great videos on YouTube. So, you should do as Molly used to say, do yourself a favor and look him up. You'll be amazed at what this guy talks about and how it really rung true with me that sometimes you just need to look differently at things and have the same success. And by the way, for the young'uns out there that aren't quite sure who Molly was, he used to host a show called Countdown. So jump on and have a look. Anyway, in the YouTube videos that I'm suggesting that you probably have a look at when you can, of Ben, he talks about the connection and what drives us as individuals. And he says that this is why, as individuals, we exist. We exist because we want to have that connection to society, connection to each other, connection to business owners, or whatever it is. And it's really the very essence why, as individuals, we've become addicted to social media and to our phones, in that we are always trying to get that connection and trying to satisfy a need that as humans we have. But the other side of that is that we have another emotion, and that's called shame. And this is the fear of disconnection. And nobody likes to be disconnected. And fear is the emotion that we have when we're not really quite sure if we think we're worthy, and it's whether we're worthy as an individual or as a business owner, or that we're not doing enough of something. Now that can be, you think you're not worthy of being a valid partner or a good friend or whatever it is. But fear is actually what we have when we don't have that connection to somebody. When we all have fear, it's part of our emotions, and as humans, that's what we have. And the more that we don't talk about the fear that we have, the more that fear absorbs us. So when we have fear at the moment with all the current climate that we've been going through, it can be the fear that your business may not survive, the fear that you're not going to have enough money to see you through, the fear that you may not be able to cover your mortgage or the ongoing expenses, but whatever that fear is, it's a fear that is unique to you. You need to discuss that with people so that you find a way that you get out of that fear. And that can be as simply as much as talking to somebody like us, that where we can have a look and see whether that's a valid fear. If it's a valid fear, how we change that so that we find a solution. So to understand that connection, that we need to understand the disconnection, and that's the fear of not being connected. It's the fear that we strive for perfection, and we all do it in our everyday life. We strive to be the best business owner, the best parent, the best friend. We strive to have that perfect body, and in that fear we then manifest that we want to be perfect, and perfect doesn't exist in the real world. There is no perfect friend, the perfect business owner, the perfect whatever. But society puts up the pictures that that's what we should be. The guy that walks out of the gym that's been in the gym for 12 weeks and he has the perfect body. But does he, or is it, social media taking it? So what we need to understand with that perfection is that we can't achieve it. And the sooner we come to that conclusion that we will never be perfect because it doesn't exist, it gives us that ability to look elsewhere. And that gives us the ability to look at our self-improvement or the search for why we have our own existence, what we want out of life. And once we come to that conclusion, it does actually make what we do so much easier. So as business owners, this is what we should strive for: the strive to self-improve ourselves, or the strive to improve our business, or to make our business more efficient, or to get a better work-life balance, or whatever it is. But we should strive for that, not this ideal of a perfect whatever it is, because it's not going to be achieved. And so once we've realized that we can't be perfect as business owners or as people, that will then allow us to have that connection with people who can help. And that's where I'm saying that it could be the solicitor or your banker or your business advisor like us, or just a business coach or a mentor or whatever it is. But those people then can give you that ability to help you have the power to improve you and your business. And it's about that connection with other like-minded people, which will really be the essence of whether you can improve you and your business. So I'm coming from a perspective of how we can work together more effectively now and in the future, where our expertise and your expertise can come together and combine, and we can create outcomes for your business that if you were trying to do these on your own, it just wouldn't be possible. I mean, people look at Tiger Woods, for example, and say he was the greatest golfer. But even though he was the greatest golfer, he still had a coach. Now, if you say you are the greatest of anything, you don't need anybody else. And that just, I guess, proves that that's not the case. So you need to look that you can outsource all of these services or people just to direct you back to the right path again. So at 123 Financial Group, our core purpose is to help business owners, and we want to help business owners achieve their very best and assist you and who are the other business owners in growing their own business, growing their self-worth, helping you turn, which will allow you to open up to the possibilities of growth that you may not have thought about, certainly growth that you thought wasn't achievable, and at least gives you that opportunity that you can, as business owners, potentially reach whatever that big, hairy, audacious task is that you want to achieve in your business life. So we're running this webinar and I'm hoping that it will help somebody. And if you have other friends that may want to watch it, just get in touch and we can send it on. It is a free webinar. There's no, at the end, you need to buy something or anything like that. It is really just that we want to show that we are here and we want to provide you with the right advice at the right time, every time, which is what we say we want to do. So this should just be the beginning of how we can help and how we can work with you to make a better working relationship. And so what I've been talking about in the last little bit is just that you need to look at how you can improve. And part of that is that you need to be innovative in your business. So during these times that are really quite challenging for everybody, we just need to think outside the square. Lots of people will call this that you need to pivot your business and all these little colloquial terms that are going around now. But for me, it's just think outside the square. It's just about reinventing ways that we can work or we can behave, or what different situations we can put ourselves in, how we can look that we grow our business without it actually killing us in the process. And just because we've done something one way before and that's the way it's always done, doesn't mean the way it should be. And I always say to people, if that was the case, we'd still be washing our clothes in a twin tub washing machine. It worked, it was still done, but somebody got innovative and they thought outside the square and they went, you know, there's a better way to do our washing, that we don't have to stand here and load wet clothes and put it through a wringer and all those sorts of things. So there's 4 opportunities for you to reinvent your business, and these are the main 4 that we see. But just first, what does it mean to be innovative? Well, the Oxford Dictionary defines innovation as the introduction of new things, ideas, or ways of doing something. So it's nothing magical. It's just looking at your business from a perspective that you need to have a look from the outside in. I guess be like the little drone and hover above your business and look down and take a real objective view of what needs to change, what needs to happen, what we need to alter, and so that we can get this business moving, get it out of this place that it is. And a great example that we've seen during the COVID-19 pandemic is a company that changed from selling travel pillows to hair clippers. So they just looked, and if they'd kept going down the travel pillows, and of course at the moment there is no travel, so they wouldn't have had any sales. So they just morphed their business into something else. Now, that doesn't mean that they need to stay in the hair clipper industry. They can certainly come back to the travel pillows when the demand requires, but they've now found another source of income. So they've found a way to generate income that wasn't there before. And the COVID-19 pandemic was probably the catalyst for why they did that. But at the end of the day, they have found a way to at least bulletproof their business in some manner. There's been plenty of companies that were manufacturing alcohol and now produce sanitizers, restaurants that have gone on to produce meal packages, so people on their way home from work can just call in and pick up a 3-course meal. There's hundreds of them. If you look around, there's plenty of those stories where businesses have just stepped outside their comfort zone, stepped outside the lane that they've been driving in the past, and found a new way to make their business viable. Like I said before, some business, you'll hear this lovely little catchphrase that's going around now, and it's called "Let's pivot your business." And really, that's just a fancy term for what we've always called in the real world, think outside the square. So in this sense, innovation is doing something completely different. So have a look at what your business can do that's different. Have you always worked with the same builder who's not getting the work, or always worked with the same business place, and now you need to look and put printers out in different stages? Or is it a sewing group that's making masks that you can collaborate with them, that you can print patterns that they can cut out material with, or whatever it is? And every business will be different, and no business, even if they're in the same industry, will have that same think outside the square look or the pivot of their business. Of course, if you want to run ideas past us about how you can re-engineer your business and innovate and look at what you can do, just get in touch with one of us, and I'm sure we can bounce some ideas around just to get those little grey matters pivoting and working out where you are. So the second step that we have is the second step of this whole process is that you need to reinvent or re-engineer your business. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines re-engineering as to change and improve the design of a product or system. In other words, using what you already have produced and produce something completely different. And this is where we come back to, the alcohol distillery places that have all of a sudden made hand wash. And that's because, alcohol used alcohol, hand wash uses alcohol. So it was a very quick re-engineering of their business. It didn't call for a great cash inflow. It didn't call for a great change to what they were doing. Yes, the end product is different, but they've just re-engineered what they do and come up with the same. So there was a distillery, for anybody that's in the Newcastle area might know, which was called Earp Distilling, and they used to make, and probably still do make, gins and vodkas and limoncello, and they created their own hand sanitizer. Now, the lineups to collect hand sanitizer when they disappeared from supermarket was incredible, and they were selling, small little jars of or bottles of hand sanitizer. They then started selling them in bulk, and they've effectively, just by re-engineering and adapting their business, they have changed their model that gave them a second source of income. That's not to say that when we get through this that they won't drop that hand sanitizing thing. They may continue, who knows, but they can still then just go back to what they were doing, or it might lead to a second type of business model within that same business model. I just want to clarify there, as the great Donald Trump says, I need to just clarify that, they weren't actually providing hand sanitizer for people to drink. It was an external thing, and it shouldn't be confused with him saying it was safe to drink disinfectant to cure coronavirus. God love Donald. Anyway, let's move on. The third pillar in how, as a business owner, we need to get our business up and running is that we need to adapt. We need to adapt to the environment that we work in. We need to change the way we deliver our products and services. And, Melbourne's gone into lockdown, I think yesterday, or it might be tomorrow, I'm not quite sure. But all of a sudden you have all these businesses that are in stage 4 lockdown and can't do things. So they need to readapt. And if you're one of those businesses from Melbourne, it's a matter of, do you start selling online? Do you have some sort of freight delivery or change to Zoom meetings or counselling sessions? And we all saw in the start of all this that gyms all of a sudden were doing Zoom training sessions, and gyms in the past would never have considered that. So they adapted to the circumstances that they were presented, found a way to keep their business going, and at least it mightn't be full throttle, but it kept some cash flow, which can pay rent, pay, your ongoing expenses. And that's important to have that cash flow there, because when we come through this, and as I said before, we will come through this at some stage, you need to be ready to hit the throttle and, launch straight in to running this business, 100%. You don't want to have to then have the wind up that all of a sudden, you've lost your premises, so you've got to find new rental properties, or you have lost your staff, or you've let go of your subscriptions that you need to subscribe to, or whatever that is, or you've sold off items. So remember that the biological definition of adaptation, which is the process by which a species becomes better suited to its environment, is really important. And as business owners, we need to readapt, and we do need to become better suited to the environment that we find ourselves in. And at the moment, we're finding ourselves in turbulent times or unfamiliar territory. And we just need to work and get that comfort that whilst this is business unusual, it is still business. And the business owners that can adapt and can rejig their business and think outside the square will be the ones that will survive and grow. So if we take this as the new normal or the new environment that we find ourselves in, how can you as a business owner change to suit that environment better? And that's a really important question. And it's a question that I think you should be asking yourself on a fairly regular basis anyway. And I guess the biggest challenge to all businesses is they just accept what happens is the normal, and they never keep challenging for the next stride forward or the next thing that can do. An example of that is there is a local beauty therapist business around here that emailed their client base, and they offered a free online skin consultation if you bought a product. Now, an online consultation mightn't be the perfect thing, but it encouraged people then to buy a product because they got something free. They got something of value over and above what they would have got. Now, I'm female. I am definitely not going to go without my beauty products just because the world has gone into a spin. So most women would be like that, and to some extent, some men are. And so what that beauty therapy business enabled them to do was they found an alternative. And by doing that online skin consultation, they had the ability then to potentially recommend to those clients that they buy some additional products, or they gave a bundle. So instead of, buying just one product, they might have sold a second product at 50%. And so, there's lots of things that we can look at for our business. You could do, if you bought one full-size product, we can give you multiple smaller samples, and that way people try products, and that's potentially what this business did. So this business was still able to survive in lockdown just because they changed their business. The fourth pillar and the final one is what we call widen your lane. And this is where I've talked a little bit before about look outside the tunnel vision that you have. I only do this, and it comes back to, the distillery that all of a sudden looked outside the lane that they were driving in and went, well, we can do hand sanitizer. Or, the cafe that I talked about that does the meal packages. You order it, you get a 3-course meal, you pick it up on your way home from work. Or people that went into delivering, flowers and sweets or chocolates or whatever it is in one, whereas we've always had the flower delivery, we've always had the gifts, but look at ways that you can do that. And is there a way that you can widen your lane? Can you offer something of value to somebody that's still connected to your business, but it's not the narrow walk in, buy my product, walk out? So that just looks at the ways that we can reinvent. So just to recap, the 4 ways that we can reinvent our business is through innovation, re-engineering, adaptation, and number 4 is widen your lane. So if you can apply all of those 4 things to your business, you certainly will have a greater chance of surviving and coming out the other end of this pandemic and this new world that we're living in a far stronger position and ready to move forward. So now that we've worked out the 4 ways that we can innovate our business and move our business forward, we need to look at what things we need to put in place so that we can put ourselves in that strongest position that we can move forward. And we always say to everybody, budget, budget, budget. You cannot change something that you do not know. So there is a natural order to reinventing your business. With business continuity planning, which is where we say to people, you look at continuing your business. There is planning and things that you need to do so that you're successful. And we always ask people, and we say to everybody, put your own oxygen mask on first. Help yourself first, then help others around you. Now, as business owners, that sometimes can be tough because that means sometimes we need to let staff go. Sometimes we need to reduce staff hours. But if you don't survive, they also don't survive. So you can have this martyr thing that I'll keep all my staff on, I'll keep all this happening, and I'll worry about what happens to me when we get to the other end. if you can't get to the other end, those people don't have their income, they don't have their jobs, they have impact on their family. So it is very much about look after yourself. And if you look after yourself, and by that we're saying put your own oxygen mask on, and if you look after yourself, by default, you will look after those people that are around you. That's not to say that some people won't lose their jobs, or some people won't have their hours reduced, or you may have to close your business, and that may be a product of you not losing your family home, or you not going into debt that you end up having to declare bankruptcy or insolvency. And there is no winners if you do not look after yourself. So that's always something to keep in mind, and it is a difficult thing, and nobody has ever said that putting your own oxygen mask on isn't always difficult to do. So we always say to all of our business owners that you always have to update your personal budget, not just the business, but your own personal budget. And that's important because part of this process is you need to look to see whether you can reduce costs, because part of being financially viable is there's no magic bullet. You need to look at your costs that you don't necessarily have to have. And we always say to people, have a look at your subscriptions. Do you have one to Spotify, and then one to Stan, one to Netflix, one to Disney Channel? How many of those do you actually need? And do you need them right now? It might be that you like having them, but it may be not what you need going forward. You can always come back. So you need to be realistic, and you need to have a look at the opportunities that you have to cut those costs. And we realise that in the last 3 or 4 months, while everybody's been in lockdown, we're probably not spending as much outside the home, but we potentially could be wasting a lot of money from inside the home. And make sure you go back 3 or 4 months. Don't just look now, and don't look just going forward, because it's a bit like the perfect diet. We'd always deny what we've eaten, but moving forward, we eat really well because we're recording it. So go back and have a look, and look where you can make savings. So once you've done your personal budget, you also need to obviously do your business budget. You need to go back and revise your budget. We need to look at what revenue you believe you can get in, and what you think your gross profit is. You need to look at where your spending is. And we always say that from this point, you should look at a bottom-up process. And this is where you start with the increase in the cash that you want to achieve for the year. And it's important to start at that, because if you don't know what you need to survive, you don't know what you need to direct or what you need to lose, and then come back up with what revenue you need to generate. It is difficult, and it's nice sometimes just to go through and put in, the magical figure that you want your revenue to be, so that you can come up with what you want, but it doesn't help you if it's not realistic. So it's important to start here, start at the bottom, work out what cash you need, and then work backwards. And we've found that what most businesses don't have is they don't have a sufficient, what they call war chest. And a war chest is what I call an emergency fund. So an emergency fund is there if somebody doesn't pay their bill in time, that you've got enough to pay the rent. Or, you want to buy a new piece of equipment because the equipment's broken down, or something that will generate income. And it's really important that we do have a war chest and make sure that we've got enough cash there should the need arise. And it is our safety net, and it is our comfort that we will survive if we don't collect enough money next week. And I don't want this to sound all technical and accountancy and everything, but we need to go back, and we need to show you how you can take control back. And going to the next level, it's a step-by-step process. So let's walk you through what that process is for the budget, and starting with the war chest and making some points. So we need to look at your cash movements. So the biggest thing we find in times like this is people buy stock that doesn't turn. And so by that we mean once the stock comes in, you need to turn it into income, get it out of your wherever it is. Now that's food if you're a restaurant, stock if you're a retail shop, stock if you're a beautician, whatever it is. But not only do you need to turn that stock into sales, you need to look at your stock levels. You need to look at how long stock is sitting there. Can you get better supply terms with your suppliers? So instead of 60 days, make it 90 days or whatever that is. So we're going to look at cash movements and how we can bring forward cash and stop leakage, I guess. And if you've spent money and it's sitting in stock in your back room, it's pretty hard to live off that stock. So cash is king. We need to turn that over. The other thing you should look at is loans. Can we reduce your loan interest rates? Can you reduce the principal? There's lots of things there with loans. So that's a nice easy one. Do you need to take out any more loans until you get on top? And sometimes that's a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow, but it's certainly something that you should look at. Assets. Is there assets that are costing you more to maintain that you might be better off selling off and replacing? And sometimes that's a difficult thing because people don't want to hand out money when they're already in difficult times to buy new stock. But if that item is costing you money in repairs, it's lost and it's just going to keep costing you money. It might be time to just go, let's sell it off, bite that bullet, move forward with better ones that have more efficiencies, that have a greater chance of, just turning around to give you a better flow of product. We look at drawings. Now, this is probably the biggest thing. That we have business owners all the time that treat the business account as their own personal account, and they're writing checks out of it, they're paying for their holidays, their groceries come out of it. You need to take a wage. There is no fun bit about this. You need to work out what your minimum living costs are, and you take that wage and you live out of that wage. You cannot use the bank account of the company as your own bank account. It never works because you've lost control. We also need to look at, obviously, the net profit after tax. Can we get rid of some expenses? Can we look at other things that we can produce income? Can we look at increasing our sale price? Where do we sit with our competitors? If we have a better product than our competitor, why are we not charging an additional amount? Overheads, that's just another cost of the business, and we can look at reducing overheads, get rid of those expenses that we call variable. So they're costs that go up and down with the sales, and just have a look at those and have a good look and crunch your numbers. But ideally, you need to look at this on a month-by-month basis, and it has to be, let's have a look at 3 or 4 months behind us and then project forward and look where we can do it. And as much as everybody hates budgets and tracking it to actuals, that's what we need to do. So you can't just put a budget in place and that's what I'm going to spend. At the end of the month, you need to look at what your actual spend was back to your budget. Have a look where we could improve things. Have a look where you didn't quite meet your expectations. Have a look where you managed to save money, and then do the next month. It's not a set and forget type thing. So just looking at the opportunities that arise from measuring and how to measure things, it's really important to do real-time measurement. It is no point in 6 months' time when you get your tax return done or your financials done with your accountant that you look at what happened 6 months ago. You've then got a cumulative effect of bad results for 6 months, let alone what happened before that 6 months. But also you've missed that opportunity to make changes, make savings, put yourself in a better position, and just to put your business in a more viable position. So for example, let's say you identify your sales total for the year needed to be, let's say 500,000. And let's say that equates to 10,500 per week if the business is open 48 weeks of the year. So let's say we close, the 2 weeks over Christmas, the week over Easter, and you take another holiday somewhere else. You want to make sure that you're recording to make sure that you are meeting that target of 10,500 per month. Per week. Now, if you're not, you don't want to get 6 months down the track and find that you didn't meet that. And that's why real time is so important. Likewise, you don't want to see that if your debtors, which is people that owe you money, If your terms are 7 days and you find out that people aren't actually paying you to 41 days, for example, then you need to know that and you need to address that. You need to look at it. You need to jump on and change that and ring those people. And it's a hard call. Nobody ever likes making that phone call to say that, you haven't paid us, then you need to, because we're a business and we don't survive on air and we don't survive on charity. And this is how we survive. And this is how we pay our staff. And this is how our staff feed their family and also me. So we do strongly recommend that you always measure the key 5 performances, which are called KPIs. But they're key performance indicators, and they're things that you can track fairly easily. You can track them fairly real time, and it does give you a good indication of where your business is. So they can be things like your daily or weekly sales, the gross profit by product. So looking at what you're buying it for what you're selling. Has that changed from this year to last year? Have you lost profit because you're now selling something without that same markup? You also need to look at your debtors. So remember, that's what money people owe you. And if that's spreading out, it means that you're probably paying interest to a bank because somebody else is sitting on your money that they haven't paid you. And that's really important that you get that under control. So once you've got your KPIs and your budgets in place, and they're the things that we've just had a bit of a chat about, it's important to have these numbers loaded into a monthly reporting system. And the reason that we do that is if you can't record something, you can't measure, you can't track, and then you have no idea. So if you've just got them all in your head, this time next month when you try to have a look, you'll have no idea. So there's plenty of software on the market. Our preferred one is Xero, of course, and it's live fed, so it's daily, and it's great. You can get lots of things. But if that's not the software that you use, that's okay. You've just got to make sure that you can get the answers that you need as a business owner. So opportunities are are there for you, and we've gone through everything. We always say don't focus on more than 5 key areas of opportunity for your business, because otherwise it becomes overwhelming. And what I always say to all my clients and anybody that I talk to, walk before you run. Get 1 or 2 things under control. Get 1 or 2 things that you have reduced. Get 1 or 2 things as a system in place so that you can they become the new norm. And then we look at doing another 1 or 2 things. And this is no quick fix. This is not something that you are going to get in place and run with it. Just like when you first got on a bike, you had training wheels and you rode along with them to support you, and then we started taking them off, and before long you're off and running, and you're good to go. Had a few falls along the way, but you pick yourself up, put yourself back on that seat, and off we go again. So taking the opportunity and the time to brainstorm ideas, what we can improve, what needs to change, what you can put in place so that you end up with a far better result is really important, and it's a valuable and empowering exercise for all of us as business owners. I certainly have done that with my business over the last couple of months. I don't say I've got it right completely, but I'm learning from those things that we haven't got right. And, sometimes it's a twist and windy road to get to where we want to be. But it's important that you understand where you want your business to be, where you as a business owner, where you want to be. And of course, where you as a person sees yourself sit, because you've always got to keep in mind that you are the business, and you are providing that ability to make that business successful. And that can't be successful if you as a person aren't successful. So we do all of this with all of our clients where, if you want to have a look at this, we can help you with it, or we can just show you what to do and you can go and do it yourself. But you need to leave no stone unturned here. You can't be the ostrich or the emu and bury its head in the sand and hope that this will go away or things will get better. It's like flipping a coin in the air to see whether you're going to survive in business or not. And that's never a good way to run a business. So take control. If you need help, get in touch with us and we can show you, or we can help you. or we can sit and do it together. There's always 3 options: a free option if that's what you want to do, or we can obviously help with the process. So the flip side of the opportunities is vulnerabilities. So we've gone through all the opportunities and things that you have as a business owner in the current circumstances. And the 5 vulnerabilities that we see in most people's business right now is things like the poor cash flow. If you don't have cash, you can't grow, you can't buy product, you can't pay wages. And cash is what sustains us when there's a downturn in demand. And it's the war chest that we were talking about. It's when there's a lower demand for your product or your services, you've got poor debtor management, so you're not collecting your debts when you should. Or the banks, chasing you because you haven't met your deadlines for loan repayments. And these are all the things that you'll become vulnerable to in these times. So naming those vulnerabilities enables you to make a plan. It makes you confront what's the challenges in front of you. And as we said before, you can't bury your head in the sand and hope they go away. But you need to be brutally honest with yourselves, and you need to make an assessment of what your vulnerabilities are. You can't just have a rosy plan and hope that it comes out and hope that the banks will bail you out, because they won't. So once you've identified these 5 biggest opportunities and your 5 biggest vulnerabilities, you need to identify the 2 or 3 that are the most critical challenging. And that goes back to where I said before that take your baby steps. Sort 1 or 2 things, because if you try to fix 5, 6, 7 things in one go, you will feel overwhelmed. You'll feel like you're being crushed by the weight of what needs to happen, and you will give up. If you can look at 1 or 2, get them under control, at least you're putting some stop gaps in place. Do the next 1 or 2 things, do the next. And before you know it, you've dealt with your 5, 6 or 7 challenges. You've dealt with your 5, 6 or 7 vulnerabilities that your business has. You've future-proofed your business, or at least given it a red hot crack that you are going to put your business in the best possible position. And it could be, just the short term. You might have to liquidate part of your assets or sell off part of your business, or look to bring somebody in, or sometimes borrow money to invest to, say go into a sales online platform that you may not have had that, but it will give you that cash flow going forward. Or look to bring an expertise in. Sorry, excuse me. Or just find a way that you can, chat to an accountant, chat to your solicitor. We're certainly here for any of our clients, or even if you're not a client of our office and you've joined this webinar, we're here just to help you. You don't have to come to us as an accounting firm, but we're here just to give you that business guidance and the advice and all those things that we have a little bit of expertise in. I'm not going to say that, we're certainly the eminent expert in anything, because I don't think anybody is, but something is better than nothing, and somebody to be there to guide you and hold your hand and direct you. And, somebody said to me the other week that it's a bit like playing bowls, 10-pin bowling. You can bowl the ball down and hit the 10 pins, and that's great. But if you're not, we can put the rails up and you can bounce off those rails and you'll still get to the end. You're not going to go into the trough and ball's gone, and you hit no pegs. So we're the rails for you. We're there to help you, and we're there to help guide you, push you back into the lane, head you in the direction that you need to head. So don't try to do this on your own. Jump in, chat to us. There's obviously options that we've got that are of no cost, because we understand everybody is struggling at the moment. So this is just going through, looking at your risks. So when we go through, we'll identify what your biggest risks are, what are the biggest things that need to change, and then we'll rate them between whether they're insignificant or whether they are significant and needs to be dealt with. So the red zone or the nice cool green zone. And I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And this is where we work out where we start, where we work our way through, and where we get to that end for you. You also do this with your risks. So you go through and work out not only the vulnerabilities of your business, but where you are at most risk and where you fail. And there's 10 different categories, and this isn't the place to go into it. But it's things like, you know, your sales. Do you need to adapt? Your marketing. Are you look at putting your market out there, advertising your things? Do you have good products and service? Leadership, and there's lots of them. But jump in, have a chat to us if you need any help with any of that, and we are more than happy to give you a bit of guidance. So this is going through them all. I'm just going to skip through them for now because we are quickly running out of time. Anybody that knows me knows that when I start talking about things that I'm passionate about, and this is what I'm passionate about, I tend to go a little bit longer. So we'll just quickly go through some of these last slides. I am conscious that we've only got 5 to 10 minutes left. So part of being a business owner is that you've identified your risk, you've identified your vulnerability, you've looked at putting budgets in place, you've done all those things that we've talked about in the earlier slides. And it's now important that we put goals and actions into plan. And this is called the business recovery plan. And this is where we've done all that groundwork and now we're coming up with what our goals are. But it's no point having goals without an action to achieve those goals. And it's a bit like when you're going on holidays. If your goal is to, you know, not that you can do it now, go to Europe for 6 months at Christmas, you need to put into action a savings plan. You need to put into action to get passports. You need to put into actions to get somebody to mind your house, whatever it is. But your business is no different. You need to know what your goals are, and then we re-engineer backwards or reverse engineer, and then we come up with the actions and plans and processes and everything that needs to be put in place so that you can achieve that goal and give you the greatest chance. So the goals need to be smart. They need to be, you know, sensible. They need to be recordable. They need to be achievable. It's no point having the pie in the sky that I want to be the greatest, whatever it is in Australia by Christmas. It's probably a little bit hard and a little bit unachievable. And of course, then if we get to that point and we didn't achieve it, we come very deflated and we give up. Human nature does that. I mean, we've all started the exercise program and we walk and we're going to run a marathon, and 6 months down the track, we're not fit enough to run that marathon that we wanted to. And so we go, oh, what was the point? I might as well have just sat on the lounge and ate that donut. So we need them to be attainable. And that's where we come in. So we can do quarterly, we can do 6 monthly reporting with you. So we're constantly benchmarking. Are you where you should be if you're going to achieve that goal in whatever that time frame is? Are you still on track? Are you where, you know, are your goals still relatable? Are your goals still what you want them to be? So don't try to do this alone. You know, just here, I have a business coach. I have somebody that I'm accountable to. I run a business. I do this for a living, but I outsource for somebody to constantly check that I'm doing it, because we get so caught up that next week I'll look at that and next week I'll do these. And I know that I've got my check-in call coming with my business coach, and I know that I'm going to have some hard, tough answers if I haven't done what I've said I'm going to do. And, you know, it's why we have personal trainers, or we have a coach for the greatest, you know, golfer in the world has a coach, and they set their goals that they're going to achieve, and that coach keeps you accountable. And that's what we can be with you. You know, there's lots of options, and I know everybody's probably going to say, you know, it's so expensive, I can't afford it. We can give you options that are very low cost. We can give you options that you can do some of this on your own to keep your costs down. But a cost is only a cost if it doesn't generate income or improve something. Otherwise, it's an investment. It's an investment in your business, an investment in you. So if you want us to help you with that, or you just want to ask more questions, get in touch with us and we can do this together. So now that we've got all this, it's time that we pull all this together. So what we've gone through is we can have a look at where we are, depending on your circumstances, what you need from us or what you need from yourself. And look, you can do all this, and I'm sure people can do all this on their own. Most people can't. They fail if they don't have somebody keeping track of them. So just looking at things like your personal budget, the risk register, your recovery plan, business forecast. Now that's looking at those goals that we've talked about before. We've got to update your what we call the organisation chart. So that looks at the key people in your organization, key people that might have knowledge that you haven't tapped into, information that could say where you are. You know, do we need to do a finance application to get some cash flow so that you can, you know, change the way you're working and spread that lane and all those sorts of things. Have a chat if you need any help with any of that. And that's where we come in with the plan. So at the moment, every one of you on this call probably has a blank plan like the one that's on your screen now. And what we need to do is go through and actually fill that plan in, tick those boxes, make ourselves accountable, get where we can achieve. And so these are the things that we can do. We can do a recovery plan, we can do a business plan, we can work out what your monthly spending is. And all this for you will seem quite overwhelming and probably a little bit daunting, you know, when we look at this and go, well, I don't even know what that means. It's important that you do these plans. It's important that you put your business in the best possible position. And so that's where we step in, and we can give you guidance and you can do it yourself, and then we can review it, or we can sit with you and do it. So it depends what you want. We've always got 3 options for you. A free option where we'll give you the resources and go have a crack. One where you can do most of it and we can just do the fine tuning and help you. And then of course there's the full, we'll do it with you. So we'll just have a look. These are sort of what we will come up with, how we end up. And as I said before, I've just gone through and done this with my business, and it is quite daunting. And some of these even I found quite confronting. And then we go through. So I'll just quickly go through these. They're not sort of anything that we need to do at the moment. But certainly if you want to get in touch, we can go through all these, and it, you know, that's what it is. So these are the plans. I'm just going to quickly go through these because I am conscious that I have talked too much and I'm out of time. But we'll set 90 days goals, we'll set annual goals, we'll set action plans, we'll set when you're going to have those, and we can tick them off as we go. And it is really important. So your next steps, you can do nothing, and nothing is not an option at this stage, and it is never an option. You need to put your oxygen mask on yourself first, then help everybody else around you. You need to make a plan. You need to focus on what you can do, and you need to get help. Now, whether that is from us or somebody else, it doesn't matter, but you need to get help. Now, there's 3 things that I always, you know, go back to Ben Crow that I mentioned earlier. He said there's only 3 things that as individuals we live and die by, and that is how we think, how we prioritize, and how we make decisions and choices in life. That is it. There is nowhere else. So it's only by challenging in a particular way why we exist, how we can then allow ourselves to challenge and prioritize what we do so that we can make decisions and choices to move forward. And those decisions and choices, once we've prioritized, will be quite profound. So prioritizing your business, prioritizing or challenging why you're in business is such a great thing that you need to do for you and for your business. And Ben talked about and it's on YouTube, jump in and have a look. So Ben Crow from Mojo Crow was talking about that they did a study a number of years ago from all these worldwide business consultancy firms, and they found that there were 3 negative issues in the world of business that created issues. And it's nostalgia, and that's where business owners go, but that's always the way we've done it. There's denial, it's not broken, why do I need to fix it? And then there's arrogance, I don't need help. And they are the 3 biggest negative issues that you are going to have as business owners. And they're the 3 that you need to step away from, walk away from it, close it, move on. The same group then went back and looked, and the 3 biggest requirements that people needed was innovation, and that's to think differently, optimization, and that's looking at efficiency and how we prioritize our time, customer service, how we treat people, our culture, our DNA. And that's how, you bring those three in, and it will be phenomenal how your business can grow and mature, and you will get the things you want in life. So the great thing about those last three things we just talked about is they are free. They do not cost anything, but it is how we need to think. It is our perspective on our business. It is value in our business, valuing us as individuals, as business owners. And it's so important that we start to consider what we do as business owners and how that impacts our business and our staff. So just quickly to finish up, we obviously recommend every business owner goes through a business recovery plan. As I said, we've done it here, and I don't preach something that I'm not prepared. And I got great insight from it. I've made changes. I've still got changes to make, but I'm working through one or two things at a time. Like I said, you should. We can help you with an online business recovery planning session. We can do a recovery planning session with a finance application if that's what you need. Happy to do a complimentary business recovery review for anybody. That's not just our clients. It can be other businesses out there. If you know somebody that might need that, tell them it's complimentary and jump on in. Or we're happy to do a complimentary meeting. Zoom's probably the ultimate thing at the moment, just so that we can get everybody in a best financial position, get them moving to where you should be, and get those businesses up and running. So that's it for today. I do want to thank all of you for jumping in. I know that time is valuable. We're going to put this recording up, and we'll email it out to each of you that attended today. If you have anybody, as I said, that you think may benefit from this or needs some help or guidance, please just get them to jump on our website and fill in the contact us. We can send them the recording of this video, this webinar, or they're more than happy, jump on the phone, give us a call, and we can do the recovery review or the complimentary meeting with any of them. So with that, I'm just going to finish up now. So I'm going to say thanks very much for coming. I've loved this. Hopefully we can help you sometime in the future. And we've run out of time for the questions that have come through. So what I'm going to do is put those questions together, and I will email it to each of you so that you can see the questions everybody's asked and also the answers to those. So from us here at 123 Financial Group, thank you so much for jumping in. I've loved every minute of it. So thanks so much. See you soon. Bye.